So these are going to be little people with not much detail, small people that you would see from a distance, usually in clusters or crowds. So I always start with the head, and a round head makes it look like a child. So I think of an upside down U, and that's the start of my drawing. I don't generally draw much detail than the shoulders and the body. I don't put arms on, and then just a few scrappy lines to indicate legs. Often if somebody's walking, we've all heard that technique of one leg being shorter than the other helps the person have movement. And so I'll cluster people together. So again, upside down U shape for the head. I'll have them touching. At this stage you can't really tell which way they're walking, whether they're coming towards us or apart from us. It is important not to try and give them a waist. Most of us wear our shirts, I'll just hold that up closer, shirts or pants loose and a bit more drop waist. We might have longer shirts or jumpers, jackets on, that kind of thing. So I'll do a little sort of series of a few people. Somebody with a backpack on is always interesting in a scene. This guy's a little bit bigger. And just, it is actually, the people are more interesting if they're a little bit on the fuller side than trying to draw skinny people. Skinny people, slim people are actually quite difficult to draw because they require a little bit more detail generally. So these people are going to be walking away from us. You'll notice again I haven't put arms or hands on at this stage. I might put a third person in close to them. This person, let's give them, generally, like I've got a photo reference here and everybody's got pants on, jeans or trousers. I was going to say I'll give this person a dress. Let me find my eraser so that they're not all the same. Not that anybody really would wear this shapeless dress that I've drawn. But if we give her maybe a crossbody bag as well, that gives a little bit more interest. And it gives me a little bit of skin tone then coming out of the bottom of the dress. Might make that a little bit shorter. So this will be skin tone legs. So there's a couple of different ways that I'll draw these, but you can see I'm not doing an exact detailed drawing. There's scrappy little lines and joinings. And then generally, so there's a couple of ways. Usually to warm up, I'll always do a warm up before I put people like this in a painting. I'll start even just with my mauve mix, which is ultramarine and alizarin, and I might just warm up doing some little figures like this. So a little wiggle of the brush to get the body wider. And you can see how much they have this movement, even just if that's all one colour. You can read, your eye will read them as people. If we do this one shorter leg. And again, you might think, well, why hasn't she put arms? You'll see once I start over here, even just a little dot like this will indicate there's a hand there. And you can really easily build these up then by adding a little bit of colour to them over the top of the mauve. But that just warms me up, gets me in the spirit of painting them loosely. I start at the top of the head and I work my way down. So now I've just picked up a dark mix of ultramarine and brown matter and I'll put the head on. I won't put all the heads on because I want to work wet against wet. I want the next colour to touch the colour before. I want the head to bleed into the shirt to bleed into the pants. So again, I just flatten my brush down, bring that shape down. I'm not worried that that dark's bleeding in. And now generally, most people in the world seem to wear blue jeans. So nice thick ultramarine. You can see that colour's shiny and watery, When I come in to do the legs, I want thick, juicy pigment straight from the tube. And I want to just do a quick pull down. I want to get a bit of movement in those legs. So if it's a broken brush stroke, I'm happy with that. I don't want to go back and make it perfect. I make the legs really close together, or even touching where they come out from the shirt. And you can see there the jeans colour is moving up into the shirt. If I had a thicker paint here, it would have held a little bit more where I put it. And now I'm going to come in and I'll make these people now walking towards us by just putting a little touch of cad red orange within that dark colour that I put first as the head. And then I can add an arm and a hand just at the edge, so within the shape that I created. I might just put one little hand there popping in the bottom. Now our hands always hang below our bottom, so we've got to make sure that we don't draw those hands in too short. And that colour sits into the paint within a little bit. It's a sminky colour called cad red orange. It's not the same as mixing cad red and cad yellow. It just sits more on the surface. It's slightly more opaque. And so now I'm going to come back to my dark colour for the head again. That's a little bit more runny than what I would have liked, so it will run quicker into the shirt. So I'll just stop for a little second, let it sit. And with this one I might give this person a pale, maybe a white shirt. So what I would do then if I want a white shirt, in the spirit of just keeping on moving, I'm just going to lift that. I'm just going to lift that little bit of dark back at the bottom so it doesn't run too far on me. So in the spirit of a white shirt, I would just put a little bit of shadow down one side. I'll put the colour on, and that's my mix that I used over here of ultra blue and alizarin. And now I've got a clean brush and I'm just spreading that across a little bit so that it doesn't have a hard edge to the purple, to the shadow. And now I'm going to come back in again with maybe just straight ultramarine this time so that it's more bluer in the jeans, and a quick stroke down. And I'll just capture that so that I give them a bit more shape there, so the legs are joined. And I'm going to let the purple dry, and then what I might do is add stripes to this person's shirt. While I don't mind that bleeding in, you can see it bled on one side and not the other, so I'm just going to lift it back a fraction with a nearly dry brush. I'm not going to try and get it totally off, but you can see there I've just sharpened up what would look like the edge of the shirt at the collar. So because our people are moving towards us, I'm going to put the face on again. So a little bit of cad red orange. We don't need detail in faces of people at this size. And a little bit of an arm or a hand. When that mauve is a little touch drier, I'll come back and pop a stripe on their shirts. But you might wonder about feet. You can see sometimes I do a little dot at the bottom of that stroke, and that can suggest a foot. But the other thing is they really don't need to have feet. We've got a shadow forming on this side of that person's body. So if we put a shadow linking them to the street, you can see their feet would blend into that shadow anyway. So we really don't need to have any more detail in the bottom than that. I'll go to a little bit of a thinner brush and I'll put some stripes on the shirt. And you can see these people just gain so much character by the little touches that you do. So coming back across this next little cluster, back to my dark colour for the head. Maybe I'll make it a little bit browner this time. So it's brown hair. I'll do a little blonde one in a minute as well. Oops, again, it's just a little bit too runny. I normally have a little bit better control of the amount of moisture than that. But also, I'm doing it for the video, so I'm trying to work quicker. And if I had that when I'm painting, I would just wait a little minute or so for the bottom edge of it to dry a fraction more. This person's going to have a white shirt and maybe a red backpack. So let me just bring the mauve down this side of the shirt. I touched that, you can see, so the head colour is running in to the body or to the shirt. I'm going to use maybe straight cad red. Black is also a great, or more common colour of a backpack, but sometimes you're putting these people in and you want just some little pops of colour. Now again, back to our legs. And these little people, you only get good at by doing them over and over. So I used to sit at night and do little lines of people in old sketchbooks. And see, I love the way that blue's blending up into the shirt colour. And then maybe I'll just pop a hand here and here. He's got a long sleeve white shirt on. So it's shadowed on the side of the backpack. I'm not going to worry that that bled along there. All of those little details just add interest. And so if you've got, say, a light-haired person now, just some kind of yellow ochre greeny colour. Sorry, yellow ochre greeny colour. Yellowy greeny colour. I've added a little bit of yellow ochre with whatever was a bit dirty in the palette there. I think it's sitting next to green gold or something, and the green just gives a little bit more depth to the hair colour. I'll come back and add a stronger stroke in there in a minute. This person again maybe will have a yellow shirt. If you actually take photos of people in the crowd, you'll notice they don't actually wear much colour. So I'm adding more colour than I normally would just for variation. But I tend to stick to the cobalt turquoise, the white coloured shirts, dark colours, mixes of the neutrals and the mauves, because that tends to be what you see. This person maybe's got more brown pants on. And again, my legs are too far apart, so I'll just join them up near the top. This person looks like they're walking away. One leg's a little bit shorter than the other. You can see what I said about just sometimes I'll do a little dot, little bounce of the brush near the bottom. Tiny little hand. And he's tucked in, or she's tucked in behind this person, so I make sure that that shape is right to show that she's behind or walking closely. I might just touch a little touch of shadow in as if to separate that arm. Now we've got our person in a dress. I'm going to make this maybe a white dress, and again this person's touching that person, they're all walking close, so I'm not going to worry if that yellow travels into my mauve. Oops, I forgot the head. Too busy thinking about what colour dress. This person's going to look a little bit like they've got longer hair because of the way it's run in. We'll keep it a bit lighter here on the right. Or maybe actually a nice khaki. So if I put the mauve down, I can really adjust that quite easily. Maybe I'll make this just a neutral khaki dress. It's a very boring tube shape. But it was more about skin tone. So skin tone now for legs, I wouldn't go to that bright orange for the legs where it's going straight on paper and a large amount. really any mix of red and yellow. So at the moment I've just picked up cad red and a little touch of yellow ochre. I want a softer skin tone. You could use a little bit of pink into it as well if you wanted to, if you want them less tanned or less orange. I'm going to just blot a little bit off. And again, I do it while that dress colour is damp, because that will help also create a shadow at the top of the legs. She might have a black handbag. And I'll come back when this is drier and pop the strap. She's got a crossbody bag on there. But I can pop a little hand over here. And I'm using the cad red orange again. So normally I don't bother with shoes, but if they're bare-legged and they're in the street, then just a little touch of dark at the bottom. She's walking away, so we actually would only see, you know, like a touch of dark at the back of the heel. I might also just put a little touch of that dark in up near the top so that there's shadow on the top of her legs. And then the shadow will link these people and disguise those feet, or lack thereof feet. This person that had the light hair, I just want to go back because it's a bit nondescript and just put a little stronger suggestion of something there. It's a bit too light. And so these two people, they could be walking away from us and this person walking towards us if we wanted to. They might be separate, or let's make this one walking back towards us. And so intentionally, if they're walking towards us, and I know that at the start, creating a V at the bottom of that, you can see it happened here too with putting the orange colour on. If I do a V, that helps make the person look like they're coming towards us. Go back to my good old favourite cobalt turquoise. Actually, this person maybe could have a scarf. So we also don't have to fill all of that. We can leave a little bit white here and there throughout. Within those, if the light's hitting. So again, with that leg, aiming for a little bit of dry brush here or there, gives movement. It needs to be wider here, not so much just the skinny stick legs. Now back to the cad red orange, and it's thicker pigment, so I definitely don't have that as a watery wash. I want to drop it in over the top and into the neck. I'll bring an arm in here, another arm suggestion there. Maybe this person could be carrying a briefcase. Although then they'd be more likely in a suit, wouldn't they? Easy to change out their clothes if you wanted to make it a suit, but let's just put like a yellow, as if there's a scarf. I mean, sometimes if you've got somebody at the beach, they're also going to have a towel perhaps thrown over their shoulder. But hopefully that gives you, oh, I've just got to come back to this little strap, but hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas just to tackle some people while you're sitting watching TV at night on a little sketchbook.